to even be in that position in the first place kind of stalls out. All right, what's up, guys? We're back. It's me, King Andrew. What am I even these days? I don't even know. I'm a former school teacher. I'm an ARAM enthusiast. I'm a voice actor, and I've also been a video game caster since 2013. Let's go. We've got our second series of the night. This time we've switched. We started out with Nexus Division. Now we're going all the way down to Div D West. We've got Rainbow Shrooms versus 210 Blechman Street. So kind of starting out with the higher division and then walking it down a little bit, which is I think kind of how things are going to go. Especially with the way I do double headers. I like to do the higher division games, but I think with higher divisions being not coastally based and divisions from, I think it's B and below. I don't think A has coastal divisions this season, but basically divisions with B and below being coastal. I think it just kind of works out where higher divisions, most of those matches are probably going to be scheduled around 6:30, 6:30, 7 o'clock. And of course, I'm talking Pacific time zone because it's the only time zone. Whereas by the time I'm done with a match like that, what I'm probably looking for when it gets to 8 p.m. Pacific is probably going to be a West match. And of course, the West match only exists, or the West divisions only exist for divs B through D. Is there? I don't. There's no E, right? The E doesn't have coastal division. Who cares? Who cares? It's not about the divisions. It is about. It's about Rainbow Shrooms versus 210 Blechman Street. So let's take a look at how things are going. I am already on the map screen. No, I'm not already on the map screen, but the maps have already been picked. I'm already in the lobby is what I really mean to say. So going to take a look at our picks and bans right here. 210 Blechman Street banning out Towers of Doom and Dragonshire. Rainbow Shrooms banning out Braxis and Volskaya Foundry. So, and Rainbow Shrooms did win the coin toss. They did choose first pick, which means the 210 chose map pick, and they did decide to take us to Tomb of the Spider Queen for our very first game in this series. Now, we're probably going to get started pretty soon, but we'll take a look at my little notes that I've got set up with my little glitches in my OBS scenes that I wish weren't like that, but, you know, what can I do at this point? So, now, as far as these two teams go, they have played before. Only once. Rainbow Shrooms did defeat 210 Blechman Street last season. It was just season 16, and it was Rainbow Shrooms taking the victory. Now, things have changed a little bit for Rainbow Shrooms, and although I have to look at Rainbow Shrooms as the favorite because the only other time that these teams have played, it was Rainbow Shrooms walking away with the victory, things might be different a little bit this time around. So one important difference is that Wizard Beast is out. Wizard Beast was a player on the team last season, and he was a very polarizing player in Div D because he played Zeratul. He was kind of a Zeratul one-trick. You know, I'm sure he played other things, probably had to at some point because it got banned. But I do think a lot of the strength of Rainbow Shrooms last season was Wizard Beast Zeratul. He's not there anymore. But although he's not there, Atomic Onion and Dead On are in. Atomic Onion, former player for one of my favorite teams that has sadly disbanded, the Nerd Herders, the Fountain Snipers, formerly known as the Nerd Herders, formerly known as Mosley and the Arkanauts, and now all of those players have kind of gone off in different directions, and this is where Atomic Onion has found a home on Rainbow Shrooms. So Dead On, I unfortunately don't know as much about, didn't follow him quite as bit, but you know, I'm sure he's a fantastic person. Would love to see what he's going to bring to Rainbow Shrooms. And interesting things about these rosters. 210 Blechman Street has a 9-person roster. Had to talk to the captain a little bit, like, you know, as long as we had extra time to talk, like, who's playing tonight, because it makes things a little bit easier for me on the production side of things. Whereas Rainbow Shrooms only has 5 players. So unlike 210 Blechman Street, when Rainbow Shrooms shows up to play, you know exactly which players are going to play. Or do you? Actually had a little bit of a scare where we weren't completely sure that all 5 of the players from Rainbow Shrooms were going to show, which of course is kind of the risk of only having 5 people on your roster. If someone has an issue, you don't have anybody to sub, at least not anybody on the roster, which of course it is less complicated to use an on-roster sub than an off-roster sub, although not impossible to use an off-roster sub. So, we'll take a quick look at the standings for Div D as we are still waiting for things to happen. We are in the lobby, but I think some players kind of just have some things that they need to deal with and haven't seen the auras yet. I've let them know that I'm ready. starting to see some R's. So we'll take a quick look at the standings as we might be going into the draft soon. But here is, and I messed things up a little bit with this, going to fix it real quick as even though we're going to have our draft real soon. Here are our standings for Div D West so far. Of course, not too much has happened so far as we are still early on in the season. Of course, one of the things to note is that collecting countless stars has withdrawn this season. Does mean that every team has been granted a forfeit win because of that withdrawal. Some of these teams have a 1-0 even though they haven't actually played a series yet. But every team's record is basically somewhat inflated by having one win courtesy of that forfeit. So far though, probably the interesting things to note is just that Rainbow Shrooms so far is undefeated, so they've gotten off to a strong start. Meanwhile, 210 Blechman Street, they have one loss so far, and their only one win is that forfeit coming from collecting countless stars, as mentioned before. So, again, 210 Blechman Street, definitely the underdog going in, but the game's not over yet. We haven't even started, and you know what has started though? Our draft. And I'm wasting time looking at standings when you can literally hear the draft happening right now. Let's take a look at our draft. Phoenix banned out. Now that is a ban that I don't expect to see every day. Of course, you know, we moved down from Nexus to Div D. Phoenix ban is definitely something you wouldn't see as likely at the higher levels. I do think there are some exceptions to that. I think, like, if you're playing against Juan Pablo, a Phoenix ban is not Juan Pablo in Heroic Division. That's very sad. A Phoenix ban might not be completely unwarranted. So, you know, what do we do in these situations where a team misses a ban? Typically, I would think what's probably better than remaking the whole draft is for teams to just, like, say something in the lobby, say what hero we intended to ban, and then for the other team to just honor it and go in the honor system and not try to pick that hero that they would say is banned. But we don't see any communication yet. Instead, we see the Stukov banned out for Rainbow Shrooms already, hitting both of their bans, unfortunately for 210 Blechman Street, missing one. Okay, the Stukov ban is something that I understand definitely in lower divisions. Stukov is very much a feared hero. I personally do believe he's the 5th best healer in the game. Bit of a step down from the cleanse healers that are above him, or Brightwing, who technically has a cleanse, although it's a different kind of cleanse. Meanwhile, the Orphea ban by 210 Blechman Street is very much a target ban on Atomic Onion. Atomic Onion, a DPS player who has been very successful in the Div C to Div E range, and Orphea is one of his signature heroes. Meanwhile, Nazeebo picked up in that first in the first pick. Now that is interesting, and in some ways also not that crazy. It is kind of crazy in the sense that it's just a Nazeebo picked in the first slot. I don't know if they were worried that their opponents would take it away from them if they play it too. But Nazeebo this is Nazeebo's best map. It is a map that facilitates his stacking if he can just rotate between mid and top. His team can help him stack. It's also a map that very frequently tends to go to the late game, because this honestly does tend to be one of the weaker objectives as far as map objectives go in HOTS. Meanwhile, their opponents picking up the Artanis as well as the Anubarak. Tychus and Diablo picked up on the side of Rainbow Shrooms by by Kizo and Atomic Onion. I do think that is a very strong 2-3 rotation coming from Rainbow Shrooms. Diablo is a hero that I really, really, really believe in. And I especially believe in him at the higher divisions, but I actually think you play him well. I think he's very strong in all divisions, although he is also very punishable. And the Tracer banned out. Must be maybe Demon Grand plays the Tracer, but that's not something I expect to see every day. But potent auto attackers banned out by both sides, so either player is going to be denied out of two of the best auto attackers in the game between the Vala and the Tracer. Kael'thas going to be picked up by Denominator, and Malfrex going to be playing the Decker. All right, our final two picks here, Demon Grand and Dead On. What are they going to play? Gazlo and Anduin. Definitely some wombo potential set up here between the Diablo, the Gazlo. Even the Anduin can find a way to contribute. Gazlo, a hero that I do not expect to see very often. I think at this point he's kind of non-existent at higher divisions. Like, especially, I think even by Div B, Gazlo is very, very uncommon. That's going to be the Greymane picked up by 210 Blechman Street for their final pick. Any switchers? Any draft switchers? Does make things a little bit hard for casters, as I did mess up which player was on which hero last series because of that. But, you know, of course, teams do what they got to do. We'll talk a little bit more about which draft is going to be looking stronger as we go into the game. That's it. That's our draft for game number 1 between Rainbow Shrooms and 210 Blechman Street. Let's get into the game. All right, here we are, my second series of the day. Hopefully this one ends up going to a Game 3. My first series did not. It was a 2-0. We've got Rainbow Shrooms. Kizo's going to be playing as the Diablo, Demon Grand on the Anduin, Atomic Onion playing as the Tychus, Howlin' Knight on the Nazebo, and Dead On will be on the Gazlo. Their opponents, it's 210 Blechman Street. Going to be the underdogs in this series, but we'll see what they can bring. Zamfex. I thought there was an R in there. I probably spelled his name incorrectly. Zamfex is going to be on the Greymane. Loido on the Anubarak. Malfrex will be on the Deckard. Denominator on the Kalthos, and it's going to be Slow Cheetah playing as the Artanis. Very interesting. This is like a low-key, very interesting name, Slow Cheetah. Literally the fastest land animal on Earth, at least in terms of maximum sprinting speed, being labeled as slow. What a talking point that makes for me. Interesting rotations here, as we do see Demon Grand and Kizo kind of just set up, looking for the rotation, but that also means they're not collecting the soak here, at least not yet. Eventually, I'm sure someone will go down. Maybe they were expecting the rotation to come up earlier. Kizo will go onto Loido. He does get rooted following that up, but not much damage goes into him. Doesn't even need to use the Burrow Charge to get out. So which of these drafts do I think is stronger? I'm honestly not sure yet. What I can say so far is that 210 Blechman Street, I think, has the better early game draft, or at least the better early game four-man. They can look for ganks and picks, I think, a lot better than... They can look for ganks and picks a lot better than Rainbow Shrooms can, because of the particular heroes that they have. The Kalthos, the Greymane, as well as the Anubarak. Just a lot of burst damage potential. If those three kind of just find someone, go on them, they have a reasonable chance of killing their target. Not impossible for Rainbow Shrooms to do the same thing. It's mostly just on the Diablo and the Tychus, as well as the Anduin, I think, to contribute the root. But kind of the Howlin' Knight on that Nazebo. Unfortunately, probably not long for this world. Maybe just barely get steps back out. My God, what a mad woman. I was so concerned there. I thought she was out. Then she stepped back in. But Nazebo being very weak early on, both generally and especially in terms of burst damage. Nazebo very much a sustained damage dealer and also very much a late game hero. So the late game power spikes, I would say, for the members of 210 Blechman Street, not quite as strong as what you can eventually get as a Nazebo. As a Nazebo with Violent Infection. Zamfex. I want to put the R in his name. Does get hit by the grenade, but that kill will not be able to complete it by Atomic Onion. Greymane does certainly have some late game power spikes that, in my opinion, are very strong, particularly at 13, 16, and 20. Greymane does get what are a lot of his really strong talents. But, of course, Nazebo, very much a hero who relies on that level 20 Violent Infection, and in rare cases, maybe not that rare, but in some cases, going for the Ravenous Spirit upgrade instead. So, rather slow game so far, nothing too exciting. Team's kind of rotating. There have been a couple engage attempts, but nothing has really found purchase, and most engage attempts have been kind of just wet noodle fights without any real damage or drama happening so far. Flame Strike goes in Might want to point out, this is a Convection Kael'thas, and Denominator did pick up 2 of those Convection stacks right there. So, of course, not a very commonly seen talent. Often a very much maligned talent. As far as forbidden talents go, I actually think it's not a terrible one. Ultimately, when you do complete it, it is 200 bonus damage. So that's 200 extra damage that you would not be doing if you don't have the talent. Of course, Kael'thas definitely does struggle with mana when you don't go for Mana Addict, but I think you can manage that a little bit better in a regular game than, say, an ARAM, simply by, you know, backing and tapping at appropriate times before you commit to a big fight. Denominator throws out the Flame Strike, doesn't find anything this time, and might already be looking at stacks going down, and the grenade will come in from Atomic Onion, along with some damage from Nazebo. Convection stacks have been reset. Atomic Onion swapped into the tower, but doesn't mind too much. Throws a grenade for good measure. Meanwhile, also interesting laning setup where it does look like Zamfex is actually the one solo laning at the moment on the Greymane, which is actually not completely unheard of, but it does mean a lot of burst damage, as well as sustained damage, is missing in the 4-man for 210 Blechman Street. Kizo, meanwhile, will overpower Malfrex and then charge him in. Kizo, though, going to be rather difficult to take down and really threaten this early on in the game, especially if Greymane is not in the 4-man. Oh, that is a swap, but does Slow Cheetah really want it? He's going to just swap himself in, swaps Atomic Onion in. Atomic Onion just content to fire away. Does use the minigun. That might be another kill. Almost definitely it is. 2 kills now in favor of Rainbow Shrooms. Both teams also holding enough gems for a full turn-in. And I think with those kills, Rainbow Shrooms probably going to find their turn-in very soon. Denominator goes in yet again. Atomic Onion once again throwing a grenade. Meanwhile, Atomic Onion also kind of forgetting to pick talents. We're at level 8 right now. Hasn't picked a level 4 or level 7 talent. Atomic Onion was also the player that they were waiting on. Ooh, yeah, very unfortunate. I think he missed at least 1 stack of Master Assassin. Not that that's something that you would normally complete anyway, but, you know, who knows? Given that this is a game on Tomb of the Spider Queen, game could potentially go very, very long. And that is going to be the first turn-in for Rainbow Shrooms. Starting to push top, but unfortunately for Demon Grand, he does get gone on, but not much happens in his... not much happens with that engage from Loido. Demon Grand looking pretty low, but his team just has such great positioning here, such great advantage. And the big thing that I really got to question here is not having Greymane in the 4-man. You know, switching that up so that Artanis is the one in the 4-man and Greymane is in the solo lane. Because ultimately, you know, it was probably some switch of maybe concern of how does Artanis match up into the Gazlowe. But at the moment, the Greymane is struggling into the Gazlowe quite a bit. So, and I think they really need the Greymane in the 4-man as well to put bigger threat onto the Diablo and also to just do more consistent damage. We take a look at our damage so far. Greymane is leading in hero damage for his team, kind of just finding damage on the Gazlowe, again, in that solo lane, which he is unfortunately just kind of losing. And I think if you're going to lose the solo lane either way, even with your actual bruiser, I think it's better to just put Greymane back into the 4-man, where I think he will contribute more ultimately. Anyway, Greymane and Artanis looking for this camp right here. We did see 5 members of Rainbow Shrooms kind of positioned on this bot turn-ins. I was wondering if they were going to look for the invade, as it looks like they're in a position where they're just going to get a second turn-in. It will just be back-to-back turn-ins for Rainbow Shrooms. 210 Blechman Street just finding the camps instead, which is not bad. They do have the camps to kind of help with the D-push against the Web Weavers in the mid lane and the bot lane. All right, Heroic's going to be picked up. Our only holdout at the moment is the Anduin, yet again. That happened in the series last time, you know, and as we see this, okay, this time, with our completely different players and different teams, we're actually going to see the Holy Word Salvation instead of the Light Bomb. Definitely not a typical choice. And Holy Word Salvation, when it is allowed to work, is actually a very powerful heroic. But I used a clause there that is very important. I said, when it is allowed to work. So let's take a look at the things that are not going to allow it to work from 210 Blechman Street. We're looking at Cocoon, and we're looking at Stay a While and Listen. So either one of those can interrupt Holy Word Salvation. At least one of them basically needs to be held for that purpose. Stay a While goes out. So does the APOC from Kizo. Does manage to just walk up to Malfrex, and that's going to be a kill onto the Deckard, courtesy of the Gravel Bomb from Dead On. Rotating up here, and very unfortunately for the members of 210 Blechman Street, value has been gained from the Holy Word Salvation. Kizo's not done, though. Goes back in. We'll find Zamfex. Loido trying to make something happen. Oh, okay, I was wondering. We did see the Pyroblast attempt to go out, was interrupted, but Atomic Onion does go down anyway, tanking damage from the fort. Slow Cheetah trying to trade out some more kills, looking for Howlin' Knight. Howlin' Knight, though, just walking away as Slow Cheetah doesn't have any movement speed. Slow Cheetah, at this point, is definitely not going to find the kill onto Howlin' Knight and will, unfortunately, go down instead. So here's where things are really starting to turn in favor of Rainbow Shrooms. Loido sneak a turn in, but do they really want this? They get the turn in, kind of sneaks it in, but still 13 seconds before Artanis is back up. They're also down Talontiers. I think the concern at that point is, they might be wondering, if they don't take that opportunity now, when will they be able to get a turn in? As it does feel like they kind of just are being outplayed. 6 kills to 1 in favor of Rainbow Shrooms. Malfrex. I was wondering if he was going to look for a Stay a While there. Instead, it's Loido going in. A Dorito goes out from Deckard, but doesn't find anything. And these are the Web Weavers coming down for 210 Blechman Street, as they will push as 5 in the bot lane, trying to make what they can happen. Bot lane, unfortunately, probably the least valuable lane on Tomb of the Spider Queen, but they're just looking to see what they can find. 2 will be caught by the Stay a While and Listen. That also does mean 1 interrupt for the Holy Word Salvation has been used. Loido kind of needs to hold the cocoon just in case he needs it for the Holy Word Salvation. Zamfex going in really deep. Tried to get that potion that was just sitting right there, far up. Zamfex commits the go for the throat, and unfortunately, full duration is allowed to happen for the Holy Word Salvation again. Cocoon was available. I think Loido maybe just too far away. Ultimately, there they are able to disengage without any deaths, so it's not as bad that the Holy Word Salvation was allowed to get value. But it's going to need to happen later on, when that could be the difference in a fight win or loss. All right. Rainbow Shrooms, meanwhile, will just take a free bot fort. All 3 structures. 210 Blechman Street trying to see what value they can get elsewhere. Trying to push in this top lane. They do have a Greymane, who of course pushes very fast. But they are going to be rotated on. Only 4 from Rainbow Shrooms, so not a hard commit for them. But also given that commitment of 5 members of 210 Blechman Street, they do remain behind in Soak. Zamfex just barely interrupted from getting that turn in. 4 gems wouldn't have been enough to get the second turn in. Kizo, very nice. Looking for, actually went for the charge on the minion to see if he could get in range for an overpower. A fairly well-known tech, tech tactic for Diablo, but not something that you still see every single day. Is really cool when it works. Didn't quite happen there, but still look nice. Okay. Potential Web Weavers for both sides. They didn't have enough to turn. It is Rainbow Shrooms, once again, staying in the driver's seat in this game. Wow. My God, I just realized how many stacks of Voodoo Ritual Howlin' Knight already has. Already has secured the 175 for Voodoo Ritual. Just kidding, for Vile Infection. Obviously not going to benefit from it just yet. And there's a part of me that's wondering if they will ever, if they finish this game before that happens, which is a distinct possibility. Odin has been called down for Atomic Onion. Kizo goes in, doesn't quite find anything. That is 3 with the Stay a While and Listen. Zamfex is looking for something, not quite enough damage. That is okay! There we go, great fight from 210 Blechman Street. Do they get everybody out though? Loido's pretty low. Zamfex going ham, finds the kill onto Atomic Onion. Was actually the Artanis with the killing blow. Okay, Artanis looking for more, but needs to make sure he doesn't go down here. So, signs of life from 210 Blechman Street, picking up 4 kills in that defense, courtesy of Malfrex getting 3 with the Stay a While and Listen. Zamfex also making some nice things happen. Zamfex, looking at Zamfex's build, going for the Hyper Carry Greymane. This build characterized by the Wizened Duelist at 7, the Unfettered Assault, and the Alpha Killer. Huge Hyper Carry potential. Definitely a bit of a risk with a Deckard as your healer. Typically, I would think with this, you would want something that is a little bit more able to actually save the Greymane, or to at least invest in him and make him even more potent. Something like a Morales, something like an Anduin. The Greymane's already really low. Gonna have trouble with this fight. I think this boss call might have been a little ill-advised. Loido looking really low, does not get out of there. Can they trade it for Kizo? They do. They're so low, I don't think they want anything else. Oh! It looks like the Stay a While was going to save them. Oh no, Malfrex getting killed by wildlife. The spider's just chomping away at him, and Slow Cheetah is also in a respawn timer, as that will be 4-man, 4-1 in favor of Rainbow Shrooms. Yeah, I think the boss call, ultimately a little bit greedy. Not quite the time that they needed on those death timers to make that happen. So instead it ends up being a free boss for Rainbow Shrooms. And this boss is going to push on a keep. No wall here to slow it down. We're still even waiting for the members of 210 Blechman Street just to respawn. The Greymane will be in time for the defense, but Artanis won't be. Deckard maybe just barely. Maybe Artanis will be here. And Denominator is looking to actually just sneak in yet another turn. The only turn-ins that they've gotten have been from these snuck-in turns. What a strange turn of phrase. Don't think there's any chance they save this, as Kizo's coming in, looking for an engage. Malfrex stepping up. All ults on the side of 210 Blechman Street as they do try to finish out this boss. Web Weavers go down. Sadly, not much value. At best, these Web Weavers are just kind of de-pushing and preventing Rainbow Shrooms from getting any further structure damage. Certainly in the mid lane where Rainbow Shrooms were moving. Rainbow Shrooms also really, really close to level 20. Okay. Loido wants that pre-20 fight. He's just barely in time for it. Diablo already out of the cocoon. Zamfex going in, getting those resets from the Unfettered Assault. So far allowed to do a lot, but he takes too much damage. His team just far behind him. He's looking pretty low. The 2-man Gravo goes out from Dead On. As the members of 210 Blechman Street now being split up. Just going down one by one. Ooh, and the level 20 Holy Word Salvation. Looks like it's going to be 4 kills. Don't know if they make it 5. Denominator is not mounted. Kizo is going to be dismounted by the wave, and that will prevent him from finding an engage on Denominator. But he's already looking past it, and there's a pretty good chance that they might just be looking at this as game. Kael'thas very much not a hero who can reasonably mount a defense 1v5. Very few heroes can, and absolutely Kael'thas is not one of them. So this has to be game number 1 going in favor of Rainbow Shrooms. A dominant showing for them. Taking the first game in this series, potentially looking to close it out as a 2-0 and win their 3rd series of the season. Not yet, though. We'll see. We've got a game number 2 to look forward to. So, obviously a dominant showing from Rainbow Shrooms. As I was talking to the captain for 210 Blechman Street, he was kind of saying that he expected things to turn out this way. But, you know, we'll have to see what they've got going on for game number 2. Might be time to bring out some secret weapons, go for some crazy stuff. Who knows? We'll take a quick look at our talent builds here. As, yeah, interestingly, the Nazebo ending up not really needing the Vial Infection that much. They did make it to 20, but only for a brief period of time. I guess it did make a difference in that final fight. But, you know, kind of with the way things were going, they were winning the pre-20 fights anyway, even without the completed vial infection, which was completed pretty early. So, yeah, that's just about it. And not much else to say, so I think we're just going to be looking at getting ready for game number 2. Going to throw it over to a break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be back soon. What's up, guys? We're back, and before we get into game number 2 of this series, just want to show off my new emote collection that I have ready for this season. Worked on this on the off season, made 10 emotes. Of course, a lot of them are just copies of other existing emotes. You know how uncreative I am, but you know, did take a lot of effort to actually recreate them. I think I'm very proud of what I did. give them a try. Love to see a couple of those in chat. Or don't. Of course, it's entirely your prerogative. I can't tell you what to do. But either way, just wanted to show you. Now let's take a look back at our map screen as we are ready for game number 2 in this series. We are already in a lobby. And for game number 2 in this series, we're going to Alterac Pass. It was 210 Blechman Street picking this map. They did also pick the first map. Hopefully they've got some kind of plan. Obviously, they will need to make some big adjustments in order to really come back as, you know, gotta call it like it is. Rainbow Shrooms right now playing like the better team, looking like it. They do have some experienced players. Atomic Onion, as I said, someone who has had quite a bit of success in the Div C to E range. He's played in all of those divisions, joining this team. And this is also a team, Rainbow Shrooms, that although I don't have a personal connection to them, I kind of have like a, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon kind of thing, where a friend of mine actually coaches this team. His name is Canny. He's a great dude, super smart dude, good player as well, good friend of mine, and he is helping Rainbow Shrooms out. So I guess got to give some of the credit to Canny for the success of Rainbow Shrooms. So, of course, it's not all on him. It's on the players who actually do it in the game. And that is Demon Grand, Atomic Onion, Howlin' Knight, Kizo, and Dead On. So, haven't started the game yet. Still waiting in draft. I've told them I'm ready. And as long as we're here and as long as we're waiting, just going to let you know who I am if you haven't seen me yet. I'm King Andrew. I'm a voice actor. I'm a former school teacher. I'm an ARAM enthusiast, and I'm also a video game caster, and I've been casting video games since 2013. Doing this 11 years, of course. Since that's longer than HOTS has been actually a game, does mean I cast other games before HOTS. Used to have a YouTube channel for a game called Dawn of War 2 Retribution, which I don't cast any longer because I'm just kind of over it. It was a great game, but now, obviously on to HOTS. And you know what else we're moving on to? This draft. Let's get going into game number 2. So wonder if we'll see any respect bands come out. This map, I would also say, is not an unreasonable map for Nazebo, if Howlin' Knight wants to pull it out again. Tomb of the Spider Queen, probably the better map for it. Of course, one thing also to consider is the fact that they did really win most of that game before the Nazebo, or at least the Vial Infection, was really relevant. You know what? I don't even remember. Did she go Vial Infection? I'm pretty sure she did. Certainly had the stacks for it. Really think you should if you have the stacks for it. Stukov going to be banned out by Rainbow Shrooms. I believe they banned that out in the first game as well. I think that's just a hero they don't want to play against. Diablo going to be banned out, so Kizo will not be allowed to play that hero. And again, I talked about in the previous game where I do think Diablo is, if you can play a competent Diablo, it is a huge asset no matter what division you're in. I think in the higher divisions, it's more that in the higher divisions, Diablo is something you need to have in your hero pool. Whereas in the lower divisions, I don't think it's as much of a need to have, but I think it's something, if you do have it, it's still an enormous asset. Kizo also playing he did play the Soul Shield with the Flame Stomp at 4 and 7. Did end up going Q into 13 and 16, which is very much a build. But the Soul Shield, incredibly powerful, especially given the fact that the auto attacker for last game, that Greymane, spent so much of his time in the bot lane. Basically soloing. Anduin's going to be banned out this time. Interesting, given that it actually was Rainbow Shrooms that played it last time. So they don't even want to play it, and they got quite a bit of value out of the Holy Word Salvation. So they're going to be looking for a different healer. They probably have a plan, actually, of what healer they want to play. Or they have a plan about what kind of engage they want that an Anduin would actually be pretty good at denying. Something like a Varian, but even something like an ETC or an Anubrak, that kind of hard engage works out. Demon Grand going to be stealing the Deckard away from, I think it was Malfrex who played it last game. First pick Deckard does strike me as a little strange, but I think given that they may also just want to be stealing it away from Malfrex, making sure that they steal it away before Malfrex potentially picks it up himself, if he really intended to get it. Don't know for sure, mostly just basing this entirely on the fact that he picked it up last game. But I actually really like that. They get, at the very least, I like the Rhaegar. Rhaegar is a better healer than Deckard overall. Definitely someone who's a bit of a higher priority. Rhaegar, not necessarily the best at following up on a Varian. I think something like a Brightwing or an Anduin, which I guess Anduin's banned, is also not there to follow up. Kizo this time going to go on the Anubarak. And what's our next pick going to be? They're going to pick up the Orphea. The Orphea is let through. This is kind of one of the signature picks for Atomic Onion. Has probably... I've definitely actually watched and cast his Orphea before. The Tracer banned out yet again. That must be a Howlin' Knight pick. Yeah, I've also seen her Tracer, so not wanting to deal with the Tracer, but the Orphea allowed through for Atomic Onion. And Orphea is a hero that I feel is not very common for a number of reasons. First of all, Orphea is pretty mechanically demanded, so for that reason, I feel that she's not super common in the lower divisions. Problem is, when you know how to counter her, she's actually pretty easily shut down, which I feel also makes her not very common in the higher divisions, which ultimately kind of makes her a fairly uncommon hero. Meanwhile, final ban is going to be the Tychus, actually banned out by Rainbow Shrooms, not allowing that for 210 Blechman Street. It is something that's fairly good at following up against a variant if it can get in range, but the Greymane is left up, which is something that is also quite good at following up on that. And a little bit of a... Did I mess up? No, I'm pretty sure last game it was Zamfex on the Greymane and Malfrex playing as the Deckard. Getting a little confused by my names that end with the letters EX. There's so much similarity there. Also, they have 2 syllables. Meanwhile, we got a brand new player in this game, Mr. Bagaba. Not the easiest name to say, even though the individual syllables in that shouldn't really be that hard, but nevertheless, a little bit confusing. Swapping in from Slow Cheetah. I guess he was too slow. This is not even a good bid. I shouldn't pursue it any further. No, just kidding. Slow Cheetah is still here. It's Loido, who is also still here, who swapped out. It was Denominator. The final pick, Loido, what's he got? The Illidan, oh my! Now that is interesting. Illidan, very much a hero that you very, very rarely see these days. For very many reasons that we will talk about soon. Didn't mention the Zagara that got picked up by Howlin' Knight, and my god, it also was a Deathwing. I literally wasn't paying attention, was literally in my Soothsayer managing things. Some spicy drafts on both sides looking real interesting, actually. Not a typical game. Looking forward to it. Let's get into game number 2. All right, here we are. Alterac Pass, game number 2. Rainbow Shrooms certainly looking really strong so far. Let's see if they can keep it up. Demon Grand is going to be on the Deckard this time. Atomic Onion allowed to have his signature Orphea. Kizo will be on the Anubarak. Howlin' Knight now on the Zagara. And finally, it's going to be Dead On playing as the Deathwing. Their opponents trailing in this series bring out the Illidan. Is that the secret sauce that they need to make things happen? That Illidan played by Loido, Mr. Bagaba on the Blaze, Slow Cheetah on the Varian this time. Malfrex will be as the Tassadar, and Zamfex is going to be playing Rhaegar. Someone let me know that I'm not crazy. Malfrex was playing healer last game, and Zamfex was playing as Greymane, right? Right? That's what happened? I'm literally doubting my existence because of the fact that these players have names that both end with EX and have 2 syllables and have an A in there as well. I'm literally getting confused by that. Hopefully that's the case. If not, I guess it's not such a big deal. Also, interestingly, taking a look at our build here from the Orphea. Going with the Ancestral Strength at 1 most likely means that we're going to see the Duelist build from Atomic Onion on the Orphea. That Duelist build gives her spell resets, gives her a lot of shielding and healing, a lot of self-protection. Kind of allows Orphea to win most 1v1s. Especially if she is not being hit by crowd control. Now, there definitely is some crowd control that the Orphea will have to deal with between the Anu Barak, potentially a taunt variant, but will it be a taunt variant? I'm not even sure. Of course, you know, we already have Anu Barak, not Anu Barak, just kidding. Yeah, mixing up which team is on which, but we still have the Blaze. Probably a taunt variant, actually. Almost definitely a taunt variant. And, of course, you know, the elephant in the room is really the Illidan. The Illidan in the room. An incredibly uncommon pick in 2024 at all levels of play. Also, yet another hero that's pretty mechanically demanding, so not something that you see very often, because the honest truth is that most people in this day and age do not have Illidan mechanics. And most people who do have Illidan mechanics are people in higher divisions who are just not going to play the hero because it's super hard to make the hero work. Now, that being said, I don't think this is an impossible draft for Illidan. I think Illidan actually kind of runs circles around Deathwing in a team fight, and I think Deathwing is kind of helpless. Depending on what the rest of the build is, if it's a ranged Deathwing, which is usually more common and looking like that so far, I think Deathwing actually kind of struggles into the Illidan, especially if he doesn't have any structures to go back to. So here we are going to see Loido just go onto Dead On, and what can Deathwing do about this? Hope that Illidan walks into a stun? So, okay, actually, I was wrong. We do not have a taunt variant. It is the Colossus variant, looking for that blow up on Kizo. Might just get it, but instead it is Tassadar going down first, and not enough damage comes out by Zamfex and Tassadar and Slow Cheetah to finish off the kill onto the Anu Barak. So yeah, very much did not expect the Colossus variant, but you know what? It's here. Let's just enjoy it. I should have seen it coming, given... Well, actually, Lion's Maw doesn't necessarily give it away. High King's Quest gives away that it's not a taunt variant. Lion's Maw is kind of like... is kind of a weird one. I typically don't think of that as really being... I typically just don't expect that talent. And I think with Lion's Maw, you can kind of go either way. If you're playing taunt variant, it's extra slow on Lion's Fang when you use it, which can help out a taunt variant. And if you're playing Colossus variant, it's just extra burst damage after you go in with the Colossus Smash. The only thing this kind of says, Lion's Maw, is not Twin Blades. Anyway, Slow Cheetah moving in. He's all the way in here. Does not get stunned. Kizo kind of missing. Now also trapped by the wall. Will use the Burrow Charge to get out. Meanwhile, Demon Grand and Atomic Onion picking up the Siege Camp. The Knolls, which also kind of neglected by 210 Blechman Street. They'll go to it now. They've got some pretty good clear on it between the Rhaegar and the Varian. The Tassadar also along there, along with the Blaze. Just listing out hero names at this point. So, you know, it's like at this point, is that a main tank Blaze then? Or do we even really think of this as even having a main tank? It's just a 4-man without a real authentic main tank. I personally believe that main tank Blaze is not a thing. I know some people will say that, and there are some people who do it, but I think it's generally rather weak. Anyway, Illidan coming up. Let's take a look at Illidan's build. Going for the Unbound. Very sadly, only has 0 stacks on that. So Illidan going to be a bit of a late game hero and needs to hit heroes to make this happen. 15 doesn't seem like such a huge number, but with the way Illidan is played, where he is often spending time in lanes, kind of just pushing and soaking, he doesn't always have frequent opportunities to hit heroes. Did at least pick 2 of the stacks there. So yeah, Atomic Onion so far building into that duelist build for the Orphea, or as I like to call it, or really I stole it from my friend, Palindrome build, because the talent, basically the pictures will be exactly mirrored once the build is complete. Kizo looking super low, Zamfex is as well, just getting breathed on by Dead On. Slow Cheetah super low, and it's Atomic Onion who finishes out that kill onto the Varian. So one person already down. Loido seeing a look at what he can make happen. Uh-oh, unfortunately, when the abilities are connecting for Deathwing, he will just do huge damage. And I feel like Loido kind of wants to be on the Deathwing, because I feel like the Deathwing does not have an answer in his own kit to deal with the Illidan. And it's really on the team to help Loido, or rather to help Dead On whenever the Illidan gets on him. Zamfex, can he get out of here alive? Was in Ghost Wolf form. I think he's in a lot of trouble right now, but I guess Kizo doesn't have the Burrow Charge to go in against him again. Looking like a more even game so far. Of course, it is very early on. But 210 Blechman Street, at the very least, holding on, slightly behind in terms of experience. They will go to their camp now. Both teams probably going to make that happen. This time, 210 Blechman Street will actually get the better end of their camp. They will send it out earlier. But is that better? Of course, kind of a question of, what is better. Unfortunately, what is undeniably better is having level 10 first. And Rainbow Shrooms will have level 10 first. So taking a look at our builds as level 10 does come in for both teams. Now our variant with the Victory Rush. Victory Rush there granting him just like kind of a burst of health, a nice heal whenever he kills a minion, and that will also be, well, not whenever he kills a minion, whenever he hits an auto, and this also gets reset by getting hit by hitting minions. Atomic Onion goes down real quick in that fight, but Mr. Bagaba and Zamfex kind of low, trying to release the Illidan from the cocoon. Now, there is a lot of stall from the side of Rainbow Shrooms, but they don't get any of it. 210 Blechman Street actually just allowed to channel that. Between a Deathwing, between a Deckard, and between an Anub, I thought surely they would delay that. But instead, 210 Blechman channel it, and most likely are going to complete this in their favor. Might even find a kill on Kizo. Instead, it's dead on going in, looking for Zamfex. Zamfex needs to be super careful here, but there's not a huge amount of kill pressure. Okay, Mr. Bagaba super low, and that will be the kill. The kill, but also the objective in favor of 210 Blechman Street. Loido is still in here. Ancestral goes out, does give Slow Cheetah a little bit of health. Atomic Onion looking pretty low. Loido can kind of go back in, but he's too far away, can't get his mobility in range of Atomic Onion, and because of that, Atomic Onion gets huge burst healing, both from the healing from the Deckard as well as his own self-healing from his abilities. And we're starting to see the potential of that Orphea, and this is something that's only going to get better for Atomic Onion as the game goes on and he continues to get talents. The Orphea is something that cannot be allowed to simply do damage. That might seem like a bit of a forehead statement, but the Orphea will do crazy amounts of damage if he is just allowed to continue getting resets and continue doing damage, as well as also getting shielding and protection. Shielding eventually from the level 13 talent that he will pretty much inevitably get. At this point, I think I pretty much know Atomic Onion's build unless there are any curveballs. Now, important power spike's going to be coming up soon as Unbound is nearly complete for Illidan, and this will grant him a second charge of Sweeping Strike. The Unending Hatred has also been completed, immediately granting another 20 bonus attack damage on top of the 20 that he gained manually from killing the minions. And this is an uncapped quest, so we will continue to get bonus attack damage, so Illidan will continue to scale. Now, one of the things that I haven't mentioned so far, kind of just an omission from myself, just not really paying attention to the important things, is the Zagara. The Zagara is a hero that is a little undertuned in the early game, but when she gets her level 16 talent, Corrosive Saliva, becomes quite overtuned, and that's going to be a big difference maker later on in these team fights, which 210 Blechman Street has actually done pretty well so far. They have gotten an objective, even though they are not. They are still behind in structure, still behind in levels, and still behind in kills. But things are only going to get harder. Both Orphea and the Zagara, very powerful late-game DPS heroes. And the scaling, it's mostly the Illidan who scales on the side of 210 Blechman Street. To some extent, the Rhaegar, of course, because of Ancestral 20. But the scaling for Rainbow Shrooms definitely stronger between the Orphea and the Zagara. Meanwhile, Mr. Bagaba trying to get back in here, literally behind his wall, but can't escape the damage coming from Atomic Onion following up on Kizo's Anubarak. Meanwhile, Slow Cheetah moving up, but has to be super careful. Only two members of 210 Blechman Street are here. Both Zamfex and Slow Cheetah need to be incredibly careful. Both of them can die here, and I think, regardless of what happens, I think this fort probably goes down no matter what, as Kizo can just step back, collect some big potions. Deathwing Does manage to get out of there. Gonna look to take the camp, question mark? How well does he do camps? Anyway, here it finally happens. Zamfex is finally caught. Tassadar is in the cocoon. Loido, I think, goes down here, trying to get some self-healing, but just too low for that any self-healing to happen fast enough. Yeah, that was unfortunately was just very ill-advised by 210 Blechman Street. They really just needed to give that up. And of course, it feels bad to just, you know, watch a keep go down. This is completely illegal. And Mr. Bagaba is lucky to just get out of there with his life. They do not want to stagger yet another death after already 3 unnecessary deaths. So, 210 Blechman Street starting to falter a little bit. They kind of just need to stabilize. Might be a boss take by Rainbow Shrooms, and I think 210 Blechman Street really needs to be content to just let this boss go. They will take some damage on the keep front wall. Just defend it. They won't lose the keep. Probably might not even lose the whole front wall unless it's a concerted push by the members of Rainbow Shrooms. Dead on, allowed to get a little bit of free damage bottom. And I think 210 Blechman Street, they seem to be a little rattled. They seem to be panicking. They're rotating as 5 when they need to have someone get 16 for them. They're trying to trade out the bosses. That is actually a reasonable choice. They are just still a little bit behind. I think even with this, even though this is a good choice, I think they could have someone like Illidan or Blaze collecting Soak so that they also get level 16 at around this same time. Mr. Bagaba and Slow Cheetah getting ready to mount the defense. Good thing about having a Varian is that actually really improves your clear on something like a boss because you can actually reduce the damage. Just kidding, the armor of the boss. So boss is actually cleared up real quick, and because it wasn't pushed alongside, it almost didn't even take out that tower. It just barely finished the tower, but it did buy enough time for Rainbow Shrooms that they do manage to channel the objective. And with not much time left, 210 Blechman Street is going to have to go in hard. Or rather, perhaps they won't, because Rainbow Shrooms not actually committing that much to this objective, but they still get a huge amount of time in their favor. Now, this is just about the best fight that 210 Blechman Street is going to get at this point. It's down 16 to 18, but it's an even talent tier advantage, and it's pre-20. So I think they just want to go for this, make something happen. Zamfex needs to be careful, but Slow Cheetah and Mr. Bagba just kind of need to go in and make something happen, and they do need to do it fast, because eventually this pressure will mount in the mid lane. I guess Illidan, if anyone can try to defend against this, it's Illidan. But now he needs to come in with Hunt, because the fight is happening. Where is it? Where is the Hunt? He's not here yet. He's just going in manually. He needed to hunt in. Finally, the Hunt comes in, but it's definitely going to be too little, too late. And that is a big team fight win for Rainbow Shrooms. With that, they might be looking at their push for game right now. Bot Fort will be finished out before the Cavalry Riders even get here. And it is a bit of a shame for 210 Blechman Street. They were doing well enough for a while, but things are just kind of snowballing more and more out of control as the game has gone on. Still not a single structure taken by 210 Blechman Street, while Rainbow Shrooms looks to be pushing for keeps. Probably going to see multiple keeps taken down, and if they can play their cards right, find some kills with an engage, they might just be looking at the game. It is a shame. I really think that the Illidan is actually not an unreasonable pick here. I think there are ways in which it can work. And I would not even say that the Illidan pick is, kind of what's losing them the game. I think it's very winnable based on draft. Unfortunately for them, not looking so winnable right now with 2 more deaths, just that successful engage by Rainbow Shrooms, killing both the Tassadar and the Blaze. It's going to be more. Slow Cheetah's going down. Rhaegar was taken down as well. They won't even need to take down a second keep. They are content to just focus on the core. Focus on Vandar Stormpike. I believe that's his name. Loido trying to make some heroics happen. But, again, not enough goes in with the hunt. Just for good measure. Just for fun. Gets feared, and that is the 5-man team wipe and the game in favor of Rainbow Shrooms. Yep, that's it. Ultimately, it obviously was a very one-sided series. 210 Blechman streak starting to look a little better in the first half of that game, too. You know, I think it's just a little bit tough for them coming in as... I think they're coming in from Div E. They've definitely had, I think, at least 2 Div E seasons. I'm not sure if this is their first season in Div D, but have they definitely been in Div D before. So, kind of just struggling against the strength of the competition that they are facing. Meanwhile, Rainbow Shrooms looking really, really strong in that game. They are a team that has been around a couple seasons, even under slightly different names. They've had some tough moments. They've had some tough seasons. Right now, this is not looking like one of them. It's looking pretty strong so far, as they will pick up their 3rd series win, and they remain undefeated, at least in terms of series, although I think one of those series wins is still the forfeit victory over Countless Collecting Stars. Countless Collecting Stars? Or Collecting Countless Collecting Countless Stars. Anyway, taking a look at our builds here, it was a ranged Deathwing in the end. And also very much the Zagara build. A little bit of a hybrid build, as the 1 and 7 are don't really have the best synergy with the remaining, basically the 13, 16, and 20. The stronger synergy is with the Bile Drop talents, which make the 16 in particular even stronger, because you get an additional Roachling to do even more % damage. But ultimately, it really is the 16 and the 20 are the big talents for Zagara that really make her what she is at the moment. And kind of just what the 1 and 7 are doing. The 1 in particular, I think, just making her a little bit better at split pushing at times when she has that opportunity. And then here it is. Look at this. This is the Palindrome build from the Orphea. If you just look at it, look at the pictures, it's the same back to front. It's called, so I call it Palindrome build. Very powerful build, gives Orphea huge dueling potential. Basically, most heroes cannot 1v1 in Orphea when she has this. She needs to be CC'd by someone and then damaged by someone else. You need multiple heroes to deal with an Orphea that has this build. Anyway, perhaps that's enough about builds. The variant was also very spicy and very fun to see. I even think the variant had potential as well, and I think it was ultimately more on team coordination and in just individual play that ultimately gave things in favor of Rainbow Shrooms. But you know what? That's enough of me talking. Let's find an interview where I can talk even more, but also have someone else talk. I'm going to take a quick break while we set that up, but hopefully we'll be back shortly. here we are. Except things are a little messed up. So let me just fix things real quick. All right, so I've got Atomic Onion here from Rainbow Shrooms. How are you feeling after that victory?
Oh, pretty good. Oh, pretty stressed. Oh man, some scary positions that I put myself in that game, but just in general.
All right, well, very good. So this is at the point where I would ask you to tell me about your team, which I'm not sure how much you know much about because you just joined them. So instead, tell me about your experience going from, team that you've been on for like 6 seasons and finally joining a new team.
Yeah, it's a little different. Everybody's got their own ways of communicating, and you kind of fall into a rhythm on a team you've been on for a long time, and so making those adjustments, like trying to figure out like where my tank's going to be, stuff like that. It takes a little while for everybody to get into the same group there.
And this almost kind of goes into, I guess not even this team that you're playing on right now, but, what was the story for you? Fountain Snipers had a long run. What happened?
Yeah, well, we just, we were a group of friends. We kind of all lived in the same area. And okay. Over the seasons, life gets in the way and you have a few members leaving here and there. And then we were kind of all strangers a little bit at one point there. And we just didn't have a great season last season, and some people decided to go their separate ways, and there's no hard feelings anyway there, but they're on some people went to Cosmos, and some people look for some other teams, and I wound up on Rainbow Shrooms. Yeah,
I've kind of looked around, so I've kind of seen the different directions that they've ended up in. Arco, even on a Heroic Division team. Good for him.
Yeah.
Hopefully learning a few things there.
Yeah, I know him and Goliath know each other, so he probably just found a good home there, so hopefully it works out for him.
Nice. And so, what do we even talk?
Yeah, the game.
The game. Yeah, let's talk about the game. So, it looked very one-sided, but tell me a little bit more about, what the experience was like for you actually playing it when, you can't kind of let your foot off the gas. Otherwise, they may, show something. What was challenging for you in there, and where did they kind of test you guys?
So we played these guys for a few seasons now, so we're kind of familiar with what heroes they're most comfortable on.
Okay.
So we kind of focused our bands in that direction, and then I don't want to go too much into detail into the secret sauce, but we're kind of aware of what their strategy was going to be for Tomb, and we just kind of our game plan was just to soak, get an experienced lead, and then try to win big fights post 10.
All right, very good. And how about that game too? You brought out the Deathwing. They of course brought out some very interesting things. What was kind of like your plan there, especially with the Deathwing?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what we were talking about. So we kind of knew that we wanted to take some heroes from them, and so we kind of adjusted our roster a little bit, and then honestly the Deathwing, it just worked out with what they were showing. And then they let the Orphea through game 2, so we decided to go for it.
Yep, I've seen that before. It seems to be a comfort pick of yours, kind of a signature hero that I expect from you. And you play what I call the palindrome build, where if you look at the pictures, like front to back, they're mirrored.
Oh, I never even noticed that.
It's sick, awesome. Yeah. I think there's at least one other hero where there's like a legitimate palindrome build, but Orphea is definitely a signature one, especially because the build is actually potentially very strong.
I think that is the build. There's a few adjustments.
There are definitely, and there are definitely other viable builds, but I think for that one you get a lot of solo potential where basically if you're 1v1ing just about anybody, you kind of win it.
Yeah.
So
unless Orphea gets crowd controlled, you just heal so much.
Yeah, of course.
And then the Deckard on top of that, you can just kind of sit there.
Have you tried running an animal?
I don't think we have this season.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it depends on if your healer can play it, but Try it sometime. It's disgusting.
Might have to.
All right, so you've got off to a strong start in this season. I know Rainbow Shrooms, they probably didn't go quite as far as they wanted last season, and you were saying you were disappointed, even though I believe your team made it to the Coastal Finals. How do you think your chances are this season, and who do you see as being your biggest challengers?
Well, we thought that one of our biggest hurdles was going to be magnitude, but it's early on in the season. Teams aren't as well rehearsed as they are, but so we were kind of surprised that we were able to climb that hurdle so early on.
Oh, it was that you already played them?
Yes,
right.
They were our first game.
Very nice. So one hurdle already surpassed. So what else?
But we are kind of familiar with a lot of these teams, a lot of new faces as well, so a lot of unknown quantities. But there's a few CCS teams as well that are quite tricky.
Are there multiple CCS teams in the division? I know there's at least one.
I'm just seeing now that there was two.
There was going to be two.
Sadly.
Yeah, that is sad. There was two. The remaining one, though, doing quite well, so they could also be a potential challenger for you guys.
Yeah, and I'm actually looking at the roster list now. A lot of new names, so it should be interesting.
All right, very good. Well, congratulations on your win tonight. I wish you many wins in your season. I believe you're undefeated right now, so see if you can keep the streak up throughout the whole season. We're going to close this out with any shout-outs that you have.
Sure. Just want to give a shout out to my new team for giving me a home here, and I think we're getting along quite well, and hopefully we have a good season here. And I'll also give a shout out to our coach Canny, who went over some things with us before our games here, and I think it really helped us out.
Funny you mention that. Canny, actually a very good friend of mine. I've been playing ARAM with him for like 4 or 5 years now.
Oh, awesome.
We sometimes talk about you guys.
Oh, yeah, just recently met him. Seems like a good guy.
Oh yeah, he's super sick. Super smart guy, nice guy. He'll help you guys out a lot. Anyway.
Yes, thank you.
Congratulations. Have a good night, and hopefully a great season.
Good night, everybody.
Bye. All right, boys and girls, that's it for me. Oh man, to answer your question, Goon, I can't say off the top of my head what the names of the songs are. I do source my music from a website called Epidemic Sound, and I got distracted by a second. I do source my music from a game called a site called Epidemic Sound, but of course there's also like a million songs on there. I'll see if maybe in the future I can actually put something somewhere, either on a bot or in the descriptions, that will actually list the names of the music for those people that are interested. But good to have the feedback. And that's going to be it, boys and girls. That was a doubleheader tonight. My first series of the night was from the Nexus division. It was Team Happy Cloud against Googans Forever. Was a 2-0. Second series also ended up being a 2-0. Bit of a shame. First time I cast this season was actually a 2-1 both games. That was last week. Can't happen every time, though. Normally, I like to think that I attract the bangers, that they come to me, and it's my energy that just turns them into a banger, and surely not the actual skill of the players involved. But I will be back for more. Hope you enjoyed it. Just to let you guys know who I am, I'm King Andrew. I'm a former school teacher. I'm a voice actor. I'm also an ARAM enthusiast, and I've been a video game caster for 11 years now. I've been doing this stuff since 2013, even before I started playing HOTS. Have a good night. I'll see you guys next time. Shu has switched over to the Blaze. A little bit of a switcheroo in draft. Bankai on the Diablo, Cubico on the Mephisto, and Mischief will be on the Stukov. And our first kill of this series. Not just the first kill, not just the first game. It's the very first kill of the Coastal Finals of NGS Season 16. Now, unlike the last time, I do not feel at all that there is any world in which Gilly Shark and Bingo Knight play this, but maybe they are. They're going to look for it. They don't have a real damage dealer. They're just going to... Oh, do they have clone? They don't even have clone! Oh my god, so this is just straight up going in 3v4, trying to make things happen. Are they really worried that they just lose the game if they don't take this fight and the boss pushes to core? I don't know. But the bunker's getting huge amounts of value, except for the fact that Isaac and Calavath are so low. And oh no, we have Johanna again, once again, turning this into the blinding of Isaac. And somehow, Gilly Shark and Bingo Night win a 3v4. What is going on? Okay, oh my god! Tazik trying to go in to help. There's this layered CC, and there's the big damage from that cleave from the Zeratul. After that layered CC from the Blessed Shield and the Dragon Arrow, oh my god, they're gonna make it 4 with that beautiful root by Sergeant Scoops. Man, Leanheart and Life DG just right next to each other, just sniffing each other out here. Leanheart smells it, and he knows that Life DG is here, or maybe he didn't, but now he does. He just checked. There's the taunt. No curse bullet yet. But either way, Life DG's life is getting hard, or maybe someone else's life is getting even harder, is Willow, because that will be the first kill of the game going on to Greymane there. Anyway, Marbuckle Shades in, does drop the Warden's Cage. We're going to see it followed up by Endurance of Hate. And here comes all the damage from those fans of knives. Fan of knives, fans of knives, fan of knives, I can't tell which one, but either way, not a single death on the side of Seb, and 3 members go down for Gambit Gaming. Can they make it 4? It is going to be 4. My god, what an engage there. That's going to be the cocoon, not the cocaine. That's something else entirely. Johanna still in the cocoon. By the time she finally gets out, she throws the Blessed Shield, but Rhaegar is already dead, and Blaze follows soon after. This Bruiser Cam actually looks like it's going to be cleared before the Web Weavers even come down. Reset City just looking to engage. Treywork is all the way in there, and he just gets gorged. I think that's just a kill. Yeah, that's definitely a kill on the ETC. Oh, Top Gun nearly going down from the Riptire, but ultimately not enough. But doesn't quite get the flip in time. And that we once again will see the effectiveness of that basic ability Unstoppable. But how is Pearl Simon going to do? Does manage to drop the trap to get out. But this time, Chelsea, it's not enough. And Chelsea will go down. It's going to be a trade, though. Maev goes down as well. Bankai's looking low. Gets in the bunker. Should be enough for him to get out. Cubico kind of left behind. Went back in the bunker again. I think that was a little bit of a misplay. And I think this should be a kill on Cubico. But will they find a trade onto Northern Touch? Cubico kind of just buying time. How does Cubico get out here? That is absolutely insane. I mean, definitely a misplay for him to even be in that position in the first place. Kind of stalls out the timing and somehow lives. Absolutely bizarre.